Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Three's a Crowd, released in 1932, it's the 46th in the series, and it's directed by Rudolph Ising. It's in the public domain, and I'll have the cartoon for you much later, but for now, let's get on to the review. Now, I'll still do a synopsis, even though, yes, it's in the public domain as I mentioned, but essentially, an old man goes to bed, and Alice from the Alice in Wonderland book comes to life, and she wakes up all the other characters in all the books, and yeah, they have a big old party. So what you're going to see is a re-edit of the original commentary, along with some new thoughts, not only from me, but also the editor of the re-edit, Blue Genocide, discussing the monster at the end, and also my good friend Manny Cruz is going to give his insights on the music in this piece, as it is a Merry Melodies short. So grab some popcorn and enjoy. So yeah, with Three's a Crowd, this one is the first of a few cartoons that involve book characters coming to life. Though I do have to wonder, before I get into that, what time is that? What? I mean, it looks like 5 o'clock. Did he stay up extremely late and now he's going to bed? Or is he, I don't know. You've got Frank Tashlin's Speaking in the Weather, Have You Got Any Castles, and You're in Education, and one of my favourite cartoons of all time, Bob Clampett's book review. Now, obviously, they didn't have a series in mind or anything, but it's still the first in that little tradition that they had. Now, the animation here of Alice looks very similar to the animation in Red-Headed Baby. I don't know, the moves just look the same. I mean, look, out of all the cartoons with this theme, this one is probably my least favorite, but it's still pretty charming. It's, you know, it's quite fun. I mean, the gags aren't wild or anything. Henry VIII, of course. I don't think his wives would be so happy. Of course, and this is probably why this cartoon perhaps doesn't get shown, is the Uncle Tom's cabin, where Uncle Tom himself would come out into the spotlight and sing his song. But so yeah, this one definitely wouldn't be shown. I mean, not just for Uncle Tom, but also for the character from Robinson Crusoe. I do like the song he sings though. You know, just got a nice melody to it. But again, as I would have mentioned in one of the earlier commentaries regarding the Uncle Tom, I'm not familiar with the story, so yes, I couldn't tell you what my actual thoughts on the whole thing is. But this song comes across as nice in terms of the way it sounds. Now, this is going to be one of the best looking Mr. Hydes I've seen. I just love this crazy, deranged design. I mean, look at that. Kind of looks like a bit like Jerry Lewis, in a sense. I mean, obviously, they wouldn't have based on him, you know.
Hey everyone, Blue Genocide here. Welcome to the next level, all that jazz. I'm here as the one editing this video. I edit the redos for Anthony to help him out. But this line here, I had to add something. The depiction of Mr. Hyde here is taken from the 1931 film Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This cartoon actually came out a full year after the film's original release. And based on the amount of time it takes to complete an animated film, it's pretty clear that Mr. Hyde was drawn this way to match Frederick March's wonderful performance in that film. Also, just a little fun fact, did you know that Jekyll isn't even the correct way to pronounce it? It's actually Jekyll. Sorry, I know a lot of you don't care about this, but it's really rare that my love for animation and classic horror movies from the 30s and 40s mesh. And people don't often want to listen to my monster movie tangents. Subscribe to me.
Hi everyone, this is Manny Cruz, the Toonie Tenor, coming at you with some thoughts and a little musical trivia for the 1932 Merry Melody Three's a Crowd, directed by Rudolph Ising. So, for starters, I've mentioned before in commentaries that I started doing my own chronological viewing of the Warner Brothers cartoon canon in 2018 before Anthony dragged me along. Before he asked me to help him out with his commentaries. And the last time that I saw this particular cartoon was September 17th, 2018, and I did not remember much from this cartoon, and there might be a specific reason why. So anyway, let's jump into the cartoon itself. So for starters, when you see the old man falling asleep, you hear the music of Träumerei. I had to double check the pronunciation. I probably still butchered it. I haven't taken German in like 12, 13 years. But that means it translates to dreaming, and it's a very famous piece of music composed by the German romantic composer Robert Schumann. He, along with his wife Clara Schumann, wrote a lot of music that added to German Lieder, and Lieder Lieder. It looks like Lieder, but Lieder, well, Lied means song in German. So German songs, art songs, so music that's written for piano. And there's poetry that's set to music, and it's usually just voice and the piano. And if you're studying German Lieder, you will definitely hear the Schumanns brought up a lot. I always like in these early Merry Melodies and early Looney Tunes the particular scatting and dancing that Alice from Alice in Wonderland does in the beginning of the short. I just find it really charming. I think of Honey in Bosco in Person when she does the same thing. Or Bosco, and he snaps his fingers. Some of the books that you see in this particular cartoon, you see Robinson Crusoe, Rip Van Winkle, and the Three Musketeers. And this is one of those cartoons that's part of the, you could say, the canon of Warner Brothers shorts of books come to life. I think of stuff like I Like Mountain Music. This one, the trilogy that Frank Tashlin did in the late 30s, Speaking of the Weather, You're in Education, and Have You Got Any Castles, The Amazing Book Review, things of that nature. This is probably the earliest one to my recollection of. The title track itself is just performed very charmingly. I always get a kick of how Frank Marsalis got the music to be arranged in these early Merry Melodies. Part where you see Friday performing a mouth trumpet, I always get a kick out of that. It's a shame that it's, Friday is a stereotypical depiction of an African native, and later on in the cartoon you see another negative stereotype of Uncle Tom, but we'll get to that when I talk a little bit more about the musical section. The maestro that's referenced is Nero, and he's playing the violin as a reference to the phrase Nero fiddled while Rome burned. He was a Roman emperor, but I'm pretty sure that he did not actually play a fiddle while his empire was going down. Please yell at me and scream at me in the comments if I'm incorrect on that. One of the jokes I like near the end when, all the characters fight back is one of the characters, they grab matches and they shoot them like an arrow, and the match strikes against a matchbox as it goes on to attack the villain. I thought that was pretty clever. All in all, early Merry Melodies, not really much to say, is what it is. 5.5 out of 10. Music's all right. Now, it's time for Manny's music time with music trivia for you today. I'm going to sit down and plug it on the piano, I promise. So, I mentioned before that you hear a little bit of Robert Schumann in the beginning. The part where Uncle Tom's Cabin is featured and Uncle Tom himself starts performing, as I said, sadly, it's a negative depiction of an African American. This is the 1930s. It is what it is. You hear him, Old Black Joe, which is an American folk song. You hear that as he comes out. And he starts performing the song, Got the South in My Soul. And that's what he sings as he's featured in a little section of the cartoon. What's interesting, too, is that you also hear the song, One Step Ahead of My Shadow, which I'm going to talk more about in a future commentary when we get to the cartoon of the same name, which came out in 1933. And at the end of the cartoon, of course, we have when the villain has been defeated, and he's put in his little casket, whatever you want to call it. And you hear the strains of another famous composer of the Romantic period of music, Frederick Chopin. Not Chopin, it's Chopin. And his funeral march. Now, for the title song itself, Three's a Crowd. The music was composed by Harry Warren, and the lyrics were by Al Dubin and Irving Cahal. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. For Al Dubin, I want to talk more about him in a future commentary. He was a very famous lyricist, and he also, along with Harry Warren, they collaborated a lot. A good amount of cartoon songs that were featured in Warner Brothers cartoons. So you're going to hear his name pop up again, and I'll talk more about him another time. And as for Harry Warren, I already recorded a commentary for a great big bunch of you going into the history of Harry Warren. 112 Warner Brothers cartoons features his music with Al Dubin and other lyricists. So if you want more information, please go listen to that commentary. Now, the title song itself, based on what I found, I believe was originally featured in the 1932 film Crooner, which was a musical film released by First National Pictures. Now, First National Pictures was a studio that Warner Brothers acquired in 1928, and despite it being owned by Warner Brothers, the studio decided to release some of their films as Warner Brothers and some of their films as First National Pictures. But First National was finally dissolved for good in 1936. Now, a crooner itself, for those of you who don't know, is a type of singer that became popular around this time period in the 20s and 30s when microphone technology started to become really prominent. Because prior to that, recordings of singers were more of people like opera singers and those singers, kind of like myself, who are trained in classical technique and bel canto and things of that nature. Whereas a crooner is more comfortable performing in a mic and being able to use it as a tool in their musical arsenal. The crooners in particular, think of Frank Sinatra, think of Frankie Valley. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead several decades. Rudy Valley, Bing Crosby. Although I do like Frankie Valley, and he's from New Jersey. Four Seasons. Jersey boys, go listen to it. Anyway, I digress. And for the title song itself, I couldn't find a recording that was from that time period. But based on what I found, performers that performed the song in 1932 on record were Tom Garoon, Rudy Valley, Ray Starita, and Sid Lipton. So those are my thoughts. 4, Three's a Crowd. I'm not going to, okay, I'll say it. Three's Company, 2, if you want to talk about 1970s sitcoms, but not today. So thank you again for listening, and please enjoy the rest of the commentary with Anthony. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'm going to try my best Alice in Wonderland impression. So long, folks!
Now, speaking of Rudy Valley. Sorry, I gotta make fun of you there, Manny. But no, when Alice turns on the radio and you hear the person singing, that's basically a takeoff of Rudy Valley.
You're in love, but not with me. I know 2 is company, but 3's a crowd.
Now, when we see Tarzan, that appears to be Johnny Weissmuller's version of Tarzan. See, that film, Tarzan the Ape Man, came out earlier in 1932, and this came out at the end of 1932. So, if this is indeed Johnny Weissmuller, it's a very quick turnaround in terms of production time. And with Robin Hood, I wonder if this is the Douglas Fairbanks version. If it is, let me know in the comments below. And of course, we've got Cleopatra here, who was the last active ruler of Egypt before it got taken over by the Romans. I don't believe this version is based off of any film prior, because there were 3 films that were released before this one, and then you've got the 1934 film by Cecil B. DeMille, so I think this is just a generic Cleopatra. Probably someone saw a stage show or something, and they decided to incorporate this short. I don't know, but if you do have an answer, let me know. Oh, and here's something that would be very obscure to people today, this book on The Specialist, and you see this little outhouse here. So, it's a book written by Chick Sale, or Charles Partlow Chick Sale, and he was an actor and vaudevillian, and what he did was, he wrote a play called The Specialist, which was a play about an outhouse builder, and he would end up having a career in Hollywood until his death in 1936, and he would be the butt of jokes by Groucho Marx, and it's usually in reference to, the outhouse. So, you want obscurity? That is obscurity for you. So what's that? Not enough obscurity for you? Alright, I'll give you another one. So we've got here, of course, Robinson Crusoe, his Man Friday. Yes, it's a stereotype, as Manny mentioned, but yeah, his Man Friday was featured in the book. We've been a native, you've got Napoleon Bonaparte, but who's this other character? I looked it up. So, Omar Khayyam, if I said it right, and I probably butchered that, but he was basically a Persian mathematician, astronomer, historian, and poet, and philosopher, of course. Can't leave that out. So what are my thoughts on this short? Honestly, I really don't want to come across as too harsh on these, because they do have their certain charm to it. I love the animation in a lot of these, and the character designs are quite nice to look at, but I'm not really entertained as much as some of the latest stuff that would come out from the Warner studio. Of course, this is harmonizing, but still, I count it all as one. So, yeah, I'll have to agree with Manny. 5.5 for this one. It's okay, but yeah, I could think of worse things to watch than this. And speaking of watching, it's in the public domain, so if you want to watch the whole thing, stick around and enjoy.
coffee. I love you and so does he. You're in love but not with me. I know two is company but three's a crowd. Every time that he's with you, little things you say and do seem to tell me that I'm through 'cause three's a crowd. I don't want to hang around someone else's clover. Happiness for two you found, and I'm the one left over. We can still be friends, you say, yet I wouldn't care to stay. I would just be in the way 'cause three's a crowd.
All for one, and one for all.
1, 2, 1, 2.
Roman! Countryman! Lend your ears to that dear old maestro.
dark night starts falling and the moon starts to roll. What is this thing that keeps calling? It's the South in my soul. How I long for that Delta. It's my home, it's my goal. For to be safe in its shelter, I got the South in my soul. Too long I've lingered in the darkness, darkness makes what I've won. I want to say goodbye to darkness and spend all my time in the sun. Let me lie on that levee, let me burn black as coal. I know my heart won't be heavy with the South in